You wake up and your brain immediately encounters a severe processing error. You need to use the bathroom, but you're also intensely hungry. These two competing biological drives collide, and the entire system freezes. You sit on the edge of the bed in a state of cognitive paralysis, wondering if you need to hire a manager just to sequence your morning routine. In this environment, idle time triggers an immediate response. If your mother spots you sitting still for even a fraction of a second, she'll assume you have nothing to do and assign you a task. Staring at the ceiling becomes an invitation for a lecture on why you aren't already upstairs checking if the moon has disappeared from the roof. Observe the layout of this living room. It functions as a territorial map where every movement follows a specific logic. Every object and person here contributes to a domestic ecosystem that relies on its own internal balance to stay functional. The environment runs on constant, low-level disagreement, a state of symbiotic friction. The heat of a small argument about chores or seating generates the kinetic energy needed to keep the household moving forward. The morning shouting acts as an ignition sequence. It provides the initial burst of pressure required to jumpstart the day's tasks and power the household's daily machinery. Managing these limited resources requires a central authority. The mother takes on the role of apex manager, constantly stretching supplies to meet the demand. If the milk is running low, she dilutes it with water until the volume matches the number of cups required for the morning tea. She simultaneously drives the family's economy by operating a localized tailoring business from within the house. This dual-role management requires delegating labor to family members who are often less focused. Passing delivery tasks to a distracted offspring creates a significant vulnerability in the supply chain. Cognitive overload leads to a catastrophic misallocation of assets. The son feeds a freshly tailored blouse to a cow on the street while delivering a crispy roti to the tailoring customer store. The fallout is immediate. The customer calls to complain about the meal. The manager realizes the deficit, and a feedback loop of verbal reprimands begins to restore order. This high-risk delegation creates friction, but it prevents the apex manager from collapsing under the weight of her total workload. It is a necessary gamble to keep the household productive. The household must also defend itself against invaders. Relatives often enter the territory with the sole purpose of extracting resources, usually tea, while remaining stationary for hours. This chart models weaponized incompetence. The vertical axis shows tea quality, and the horizontal tracks your likelihood of making it again. High-quality tea guarantees you'll be the primary tea maker. However, deliberately producing an undrinkable brew causes future labor expectations to drop sharply, securing long-term exemption. Other invaders use more aggressive tactics, like the visiting cousin Chiku. He utilizes a guidance scam, aggressively selling overpriced digital courses to extract capital from the family's savings. To counter external pressures and pay cuts from the traditional workforce, the younger generation secures independent capital. They turn to trading apps to build a financial buffer, protecting the family against unexpected economic dips. In an environment with limited resources, feigned incompetence and digital side hustles become highly evolved tactics for preserving energy and wealth. The father archetype operates on a different biological directive: extreme asset protection. His priorities focus on the preservation of mechanical parts and physical inventory. If a family member is injured in a motorcycle accident, his first instinct is to critique their handling of the clutch and calculate the cost of the repair. Despite this focus on protection, unwanted resources still enter the house. The grandmother frequently visits the ashram and imports a surplus of sugary offerings called patasasas, which no one in the family intends to eat. The younger generation responds by creating a black market supply chain. They hoard the patasasas until they have a full sack and then smuggle them back to the ashram to sell for a profit. Chronic middle-class scarcity forces every member of the family to become a ruthless auditor of physical inventory. Every unwanted item represents a potential microtransaction to help balance the books. Eventually, the accumulation of daily frustrations causes the system to break. The mother's exhaustion finally collides with the grandmother's territorial demands, leading to a total halt in domestic operations. The floor-level gas range serves as the engine room of the house. Shutting it off is a strategic move in a passive-aggressive standoff. A hunger strike begins, weaponizing the fundamental act of feeding the family. The father returns from work to a silent, striking ecosystem. Instead of the usual friction, everyone sits in separate corners, refusing to engage or prepare the evening meal. This explosive fight, the kalesh, provides a systemic pressure valve. By forcing every hidden resentment into a single loud confrontation, it prevents the family from reaching a state of permanent, silent resentment. The intensity of the conflict clears the air. By venting the day's micro-frictions all at once, the family avoids a catastrophic collapse of the unit and allows the system to reset. Once the emotional baseline is reset, the gas range is relit. This shared chaos, while frustrating, acts as the ultimate cultural glue, keeping the middle-class family deeply bonded through the friction of their daily lives.